I can do a final flip through very carefully so that you can see what it looks like. And it springs open, which I kind of like. And here we go. We've got pockets for watercolour, each of the papers labelled and labelled and labelled, very good. And then we've got Saunders Waterford 300 GSM rough. We've got some Kmart generic watercolour paper. Then we've got Saunders Waterford watercolour paper. And then we've got some of my teaching examples of things and ways to start. Use your brush, use your practice just with beautiful swatches of colour, some easy things to start painting with, some inspiring things, some places to start in the middle here, such as wet on wet. That's the other side of that, these instruction sheets, tone and swatching and beautiful colours, more papers that you can practice on and more paper here to take out and some sample dot colours there and some tracing paper in the very back there. Oh, I've also got a spare, I hang on to all these things. So that's a colour chart, that's quite lovely. I'll put that in there. Does look a little bit like I'm promoting Winsor & Newton, but that's all right, I don't mind that. Okay, about an hour has gone by and it's kind of touch dry, so I really am excited to move ahead with this. So that's the cover, that's the largest one. It's a tiny bit tacky, but not a problem. It's not coming off on my fingers anymore. The first thing I'm going to do is glue this one in. And before I do that, I'm going to have a little look at how this one is behaving, the one I've already glued, and how to get that contact going so that it will glue nicely, especially where the edge joins here. Really want that to be lovely and in contact. Okay, that's the outside, and then this one comes in, and then I start in on these ones here. Yep, I'm definitely going to put something, because this wasn't exposed to air, it is a little damp. Not damp, it's weird. It's kind of, I was reading the packet in fact, and it says that it's mixed with a resin and that's how it hardens. But it does not say how long it dries on there, which is, you know, kind of disappointing. I do need a little page that's going to protect it. And I wonder if that might take the place of one of these. Will that look gorgeous? Open it out and see another watercolour painting. I used to use Saunders Waterford all the time because I used to get it for a really great price. Not that way, that way. Oh, that's beautiful then. That goes that way, and then they will slip beautifully into there. Yeah, I like that. And I'm not going to, it's very easy to just line them up like that with all the bottoms lined up. But I kind of like the idea that they're all at different heights. So I'm going to make them different heights. And then when you open it, this watercolour journal, you'll see all the beautiful papers at varying heights. I think it kind of adds to the messy, you know, not the messiness, but kind of like the handmade nature of the journal. Put that back in the center. All right, that's pretty cool. And then I need some clips to hold these papers in place once I've got them where I want them. Oh, it doesn't fit that way. How about that way? Just definitely need it held because I'm going to sew it in a moment. You could glue it as well, but I find sewing just holds it beautifully in place. Is this one big enough? I need some bigger ones. There. All right, that's pretty cool. And it's going to be sewn that way. Just double check that everything's up the right way, and it is. Okay, and then that's going to go into there, and then that one will go inside there. All right, let's, that's just a descriptive sheet, and I've got wonderful things to stick in to all the pockets inside. Okay, that should have adhered. It's a pretty fast glue. Oh, I totally missed the outside. And that didn't adhere. I'll fix that later. Is that good? That opens like that, yeah, and comes out a little bit, which is, it's more important that it closes because then you can carry it around. It's very tempting to just snip that there to give it a little bit more opening ability, so I think I will. Just snip it dead center. Or, though, actually, you know what I will do is give it a little gusset. Do you call it a gusset if it's paper? It's such an old word, isn't it? Gusset. Sounds like something my mum would be saying. Oh, that's better. That's lovely. Look, that's folding nicely. It's not bending on each other, and it'll come out a little bit more. I think I'll go a step further and take it a little bit further. It's getting hard to cut at that point, so just get rid of the little slippy bit. How's that? Yeah, and as I say, really easy to cut off. I think I will while I'm right here. Cut that one off. Sometimes I don't. But that one, for some reason, is bothering me. Oh, it's because it's on the cover. That's why it's bothering me. Okay, and on this side as well? Yeah. This is sitting right out of the cover. I really like the cover to be the outermost. These cost me $8 each, and I have loved them. You know how you hesitate to buy stuff sometimes? And then afterwards you're like, oh, so worth it. I'm just going to take that one off and take that one off. Oh, and that one is going to do the job. I've got this bookbinding little collection of stuff with an awl. I also have a crocodile, and I could use that for this, but I find this just as fast. You could measure it, and so when you go and look up bookbinding, you'll see there's lots of ways to do it. Just pushing that right in to there. What I like to do is just eyeball it and guess where the middle is, which is probably about there. About there. And because I've got this book below, I'm able to go right through and come out the other side, and it's perfectly on the edge because you sit the edge on it. All right, that's a great start. Now, before this moves, I could get my thread and get the beginning going. I'm using this grey waxed thread. You go once, twice the length of the book. I like to have too much rather than too little, way better. I've got some big fat needles here. I've got this really big one. The waxed thread is wonderful and easy to thread, but you can use anything that is wonderfully strong. Okay, I'm going to remove this, and while it's perfectly aligned, stick this through it. And then I'm not going to have an issue in a moment. I'm going to pull that through. Little thread there. As this comes through, see if we can stick this one through to the middle. Yes! All right, pull that through. And I'm just going to eyeball it, check that it's beautifully tucked down there. And I'm just guesstimating that distance to be there. Here's my needle, and as this comes out, stick that straight through. And I know that's perfect because I've got my hand in place. All right. This awl, AWL awl, comes with a hole. Now I'm going to use this. So I'm going to stick it back through here, which seems to go through so easily. And then I'm going to get my thread and stick it in this hole. Snip off the little end and stick it through that. So I'm going to get my pen now and sign a few things because it is full of my art. So I want that I want to sell it, so I want it to be important that it's made by me. Baohong Academy, 300 GSM rough. And then this one is on Saunders Waterford 300 GSM rough. You can tell what textured paper I love. And then these two are Saunders Waterford 300 GSM rough. That's the same as those two. And then we've got the cheap paper. Then we've got the Saunders Waterford. I'm just going to clean my hands. And then we've got the pages in the center. Oh, that is too exciting. And then the introduction. And then we've got all these sheets here. And the other half. And the other half of those ones. And the other half of those ones. And those ones. And those ones. And wow, I'm really excited by this one. I've got these coloured paper clips that I absolutely love. Oh, and I've got grey and I've got black. Oh, and pink, fantastic. So I'll put that on there to keep it in place so it won't fall out. I'm going to label these ones here were the Saunders Waterford 300 GSM rough. And then I'm going to put that. And then this will nicely protect the paper from the paper clip. Because sometimes paper clips can bend thinner paper. There. And then that one, oh yeah, I'll use another one of these. Perfect. And these, of course, are watercolour cards. And again, that way, in my nicest writing, Saunders Waterford 190 GSM smooth. And I'm going to put an equals hot pressed, because people often ask that question as well. What is hot pressed paper? And then they'll be able to use some pink for this one. And then these are sample pages, and then this is a starter. It's very tempting to label that as well, but they'll open it and see what it is, and that paper continues to the back. Ooh, fantastic. Now I can make a closure. I want it to be able to hold together because I'm going to stick things into, so this, like this one is an example of masking fluid, plus it's on this beautiful paper. So I'm going to stick that in there. And then I've got little dot cards, so maybe they will go over here. They're not obvious, so I'll write it on. Sample watercolour dots. And then that can go into, just check that's dry. Yeah, that can go in there. Oopsie, I did it again. Keep forgetting to put that little nibby in. And then this one I've kept the label of watercolour, Winsor & Newton watercolour paper up, and then I've glued them together like that. So that could go nicely in with that one. And in the back, I'm going to put a piece of tracing paper, very handy, when you're first getting your ideas together, like that. And that's obvious what it is, so I don't need to write that on, I don't think. I'll put another one of these samples in here because that's kind of cool to start. Watercolour sample dots. That can go in there. And I think I've put all the special things I had in mind to go in. And then I'm going to make a closure with an elastic, which I just love doing. Allow for a tie. Yep, I'm going to go with that. Now, what I need to do is get this to go through that little tiny hole. What are the chances? Okay, go back to my awl and the book. And I'm going to make a hole, and let's push it through. And believe it or not, I'm going to make a bigger hole so that I can get that elastic through. And make a further hole, because I know I'm never going to get it through otherwise. Okay, a little bit bigger. And let's see if we can get the elastic to go through. Let's see if I can get it through with the needle. Yes. Ta-da! Ta-da! There it is. I'm going to cut it right down. Resisting me. Okay, now I can take off these because they should be glued. Yes, yes, yes. And then this wraps around. It's not too tight, but the pressure is on the part where it's beautifully reinforced. Oh, how beautiful is that? Do I have enough? I think I do. It's fabulously wide. Trying to find the edge. There. All right. This is a really good quality one. So I know the contact will be fantastic. Ah, look at that. That's just beautiful. We'll get a little tiny clip. Yeah. Beautiful. And then I'll be able to snip it here to give it room to go around my elastic. That's cool. There's a little bit of tape. Just give it a little space there. And I couldn't have done it before the elastic because then I would have poked a hole in the elastic, in the tape doing the elastic. And then I would have had to have redone the tape. It's very hard to know what's best order to do these things. And the best thing about that is just spend time trying. Okay, I'm going to just leave them like this, and then I will rest a book against it. So in the meantime, I can do a final flip through very carefully so that you can see what it looks like. and it springs open, which I kind of like. And here we go. We've got pockets for watercolour, each of the papers labelled and labelled and labelled, very good. And then we've got Saunders Waterford 300 GSM rough. We've got some Kmart generic watercolour paper. Then we've got Saunders Waterford watercolour paper. And then we've got some of my teaching examples of things and ways to start. Use your brush, use your practice just with beautiful swatches of colour, some easy things to start painting with, some inspiring things, some places to start in the middle here, such as wet on wet. That's the other side of that, these instruction sheets, tone and swatching and beautiful colours, more papers that you can practice on, and more paper here to take out, and some sample dot colours there, and some tracing paper in the very back there. Oh, I've also got a spare, I hang on to all these things, so that's a colour chart. That's quite lovely. I'll put that in there. Does look a little bit like I'm promoting Winsor & Newton, but that's all right. I don't mind that. And right, this definitely wants to be put back like that. And that, I think, will slowly do what I want. And if not, I could put on a different tape. I do have some bookbinding tape, and maybe that's what I should have done. But I do love the look of the washi tape. And if this adheres, I could add some to the other edge. But I do also love this edge too. This is what happens when you're using masking tape, and shows you how you can get a border on your paintings. Yeah, I think that's slowly adhering. I so appreciate if you've made it to the end of the video. It is absolutely wonderful that you would join me and consider making something like this. I'll put this up on my website in case you'd like to buy it and then make your own version of it. Oops, I've left off the lid again. Either way, I don't mind. I love sharing my knowledge, and I love this opportunity on YouTube to share different ideas, because boy do I have 1,000 ideas. I'm trying desperately to get that in. Thanks guys, I really appreciate it. See you next time. Bye.